All right, here we go. We're going to start handling the second half of day two gaming in the Swiss stages. We're in the winner's bracket. We're playing GenG and T1. So without further ado, let's get to it. These teams were duking it out all season long, apart from the time where Faker had a little hiatus for his injury. Super happy to see Akali finally. Akali is one of these champions that should be thriving into the control mage metagame. She also had a couple recent buffs, so she's going to be doing okay. That change to her energy management in the early game, allowing her to get that extra Q off, is huge for her laning pressure. So we'll see if GenG is able to do that. We also have Jarvan versus Kha'Zix. Now, Kha'Zix is something that has been a little bit scuffed compared to where it was in June, July. Much weaker, although it is a Duskblade abuser, and they are going for a super high damage composition to pair with the Rumble. This is something you see very commonly. You either want something to hold people down for a long time so that the equalizer can burn them down, or you want someone that's like, all right, you've chunked everybody, I want to be able to jump around and kill everybody, and that's exactly what Kha'Zix does in this lineup. They also have put together Xayah Rakan, which means that they'll have a winning bot lane. That being said, the answers from T1 is kind of the meta all-stars here. Everyone but Aatrox. Aatrox is very solid. It's fine. Not on the same tier as Rumble, though. But they're able to get Orianna Jarvan, which is a very easy-to-play combination. And they have Alistar Kai'Sa. Korean teams have been very, very good at spacing in fights. You're going to see them fan out in a position where all of them can deal damage. You tend to see this kind of formation where you have carry, and then another secondary carry, or someone like the Rumble in this position with tanks around them if they're playing front to back. In this case, you might see some more flanking angles from Rumble. Now, something that we should keep an eye on is this Ignite over here, picked up by Rumble. Is indicative that he really wants to take over this lane, wants to take this advantage. Aatrox is notoriously weak for the first 4 levels until you start getting cooldowns on the passive and on the Qs. Faker taking it to Chovy right here. As many auto attacks as possible. Notice how Akali, by the way, is not using her potion right now. When you have Doran's Ring and when you're playing Second Wind Revitalize, those are empowered by being low. Okay, so you actually want to be lower before you pop that potion. You also want to let the Doran's shield do more work. So you're going to see her sit onto this as long as possible. She knows that Orianna does not really have kill pressure here until she gets just a little bit lower, and then you start going, especially once you have 2 or 3 ranks into Q. That's when it's going to be a little bit more dangerous. This bot lane Xayah Rakan, super synergistic, obviously. They will have the push here. We'll see if they go for a Cheaty recall, going for a 4th wave crash, pairing up with Kha'Zix going to the other side of the map. They did have full information of Jarvan starting on bot side, so they may still be comfortable staying on this side of the map. We'll see how they decide to play that out, whether or not they want to go for a rebound or not. Doran stepping up pretty far with knowledge that J4 could easily be in this vicinity, taking a really bad trade, also doing it in the face of Aatrox hitting level 4, so using that level up timer. And see Kha'Zix versus J4. J4 does win this. If they were going to duke it out, it would be J4 favored, so he's going to go ahead and use the smite plus EQ to get out. Nice smooth combo. We'll see if Kha'Zix paths through mid. We see Rakan coming over. We saw this yesterday, all right, versus a kill lane or anyone that might have all-in pressure against you. Rakan can come over while your Xayah recalls, and then you get the best of both worlds where you have pressure for this, but where it's being answered this time by Alistar. Very good scouting by T1. We're going to get the upfront damage. It looks like Delight's going to bite it. No, uses flash to get out. Now GenG is stuck in a really tough position. Peanut's going to get soloed out by Faker. Singled out by Faker, I should say, and owner chases. This is going to be a very deep hole to get out of. Now also, check out top lane. We've got a freeze with Doran having the advantage here. You know what they're going to do? They recognize that with Aatrox having teleport in 19 CS, he doesn't want to have to deal with Aatrox coming back to lane with 2 longswords, so he's going to try to shove this out, not have to deal with a teleport. This is the downside to playing with Ignite, but talking about that fight, you saw those rotations and the answers, and ultimately it came down to who's there first, who's there most. So you get there first, but then you give up a little bit of extra pressure. You allow Alistar to come out. The fact that Xayah took her recall meant Kai'Sa was able to push freely. That allowed Alistar to come join the fight, and T1 takes a huge advantage to start the game. So this right here, what we're talking about, this ignite versus this teleport, means that the threat is always going to be that Aatrox might find a way to sneak in a recall and find an item advantage. We talk about checkmate in these lane states. We'll pause for a second to talk about this combination. Beautiful upfront damage. After all, it is Rakan though, so he is able to get out, but they have more than enough. Kai'Sa happy to come over, not greeting for the wave, saying, yo, no, I want to make sure that we win this fight. The wave's fine. I'll come over. I'll still get experience to help out with kills if it goes that deep. But the checkmate positions are when you have an item or a threat advantage and a lane that's coming back to you, right? And then there's no real good answer. There's nothing that the opponent can do, all right? Those of you who play chess, we call that zugzwang, when there just is no move. Every move that you do is worse for you, right? And in that case, you have to be very, very careful against an Aatrox with teleport. Yes, you're the stronger laner, but if he sneaks in a recall and he's able to get components for Hex Drinker, he's going to be very happy going into this. You might even see Merc Treads, although probably not against this team. We'll see. Maybe sometimes they even just go with the Null Magic Mantle and say, I'll just sit on this amount of MR, not slow down my build any more than that. But many times you're going to see the early Hex Drinker that allows them to play for the all-in. Now, very, very careful. Ignite is up, but Flash is down. We'll see how much attention Jarvan pays to this camp. Peanut going to play on the opposite side of the map. This is something we always want to see. Enemy team is strong here. Go be strong here. You don't need to answer everything they do. You can counter it. Rumble picking up early plated steel caps to play against that double AD lane, plus the fact that we've got the Kai'Sa as well. The only threat on their team is going to be Orianna, and you have two assassins that are happy to threaten her, especially once you get that equalizer. If it just touches her, that could be enough for Akali or Xayah to take her out. Dragon secured for themselves. Not a great prize. Obviously, the Flash is going to be something meaningful where Aatrox can create tremendous advantage from this if he's able to continue the pressure. What I don't like from Owner is that he's come down back to the bot side. This is going to relieve all the pressure from top. So unless they have some sort of tempo plan that they can execute on, potentially preparing vision for the Rift Herald, then I don't like this combination here. Jarvan finding Kha'Zix, level advantage 6-5, gets the easy kill. This is looking heavily T1 favored. If GenG is going to win this, it's going to be on the back of superior singular play here and the fact that they've got these assassins and the strength of Rumble right here. This is the biggest rift that they have. Like Orianna, just much higher on the tier list than Akali. Akali's good into Orianna. You're happy to play that matchup, but it's just, is it going to contribute enough to the fights? We'll see. And then on the rest, Xayah, Rakan, just the insane synergy. So we'll see. These two champions have to jump in. Then we're going to look to synergize with the ultimate from Orianna. I don't see a very great way for Aatrox to get into these fights. Normally you want to have this like hammer to anvil approach when you're playing an Aatrox lane or a Renekton. Someone that can, you're looking for an opportunity to flank with the threat of front to back. But I believe with this double assassin setup, they're just never going to set you up for front to back pushes. We're just going to look for whether or not there's going to be, I mean, there could be split advantage. I don't think that, but you know what? That's kind of tough to say. There's going to be some amount of melee. Rumble just very good into Jarvan in general also, though. We'll see it. We'll see how it plays out. I like these 4 picks. Kha'Zix dutifully cleaning out some vision in the jungle. They had 2 control wards down in that western quadrant. Those are gone now. This is what I was talking about, though, with Owner, relieving the pressure up in topside. I don't think there's any world where they should have given up this Rift Herald. All right, Alistar roaming over into the river. Kai'Sa's alone. We're going to constantly see this. Which of these supports is willing to go? Chovy feeling himself right here. Whew. Big damage. Faker's daring him to come in. Obviously, he cannot do it. If he comes in, then it's going to be the ultimate. So he puts the ball on himself. The Orianna ball gives stats. It's very important to have the ball on yourself versus assassins if you expect that they're going to go in on you. Also, it means that the shield can be cast instantly on you. So that's something that Orianna is trying to do with that bait. Chovy opting to just use the ultimate for some pressure, saying, hey, let me just get a little bit of an HP lead using my ultimate. And that's a totally fine usage, especially with teleport coming back up. You're going to see her try to get the push now. She doesn't want to be in this lane versus these items, all right? We're talking about a significant advantage here. 2,000 gold in the inventory of Orianna means that Akali just needs to crash this. She should not be allowed to do it. She's going to try to use these shadow games, but constantly she's going to have to be worried about Jarvan showing up, and I expect Jarvan to come shadow because Akali needs Kha'Zix to come. All right, and therefore, if they're going to pull 2 people to this lane, I expect 2 people to come in as an answer as well. You see Jarvan sliding over here. Yeah, there we go. See how they're both hovering this lane? It's like it's all coming down to what this lane state's going to be. This is a tremendous advantage, so they're going to try to glean as much from this as possible. In the dark, they go for that play. Wow. And Chovy is able to get away. In a way, that's not something you necessarily wanted to do, right? You kind of wanted to trap Chovy to that lane in that position. I understand that they go for it, and it's actually pretty special that they're able to do so much damage in the darkness. Just blank over there, using the shockwave to pull them into the center of the ball. Jarvan's able to pick it up and continue the damage. But that just sends Chovy home, and Chovy's fine with that. It's like, okay, all right, I accept. I was already screwed. I was already having to back in a really bad position anyways. So now she gets it off anyways. It's not a big deal. That said, you know, considering it for two ultimates being spent, now she can't teleport back to lane, because if Jarvan does hover and they go all in on her again, then she'll be completely stuck. Because of the wave pushing in, she's able to just get her items, slide back out. We'll see what Orianna tries to do in this window. She's still sitting on about 600 gold probably, not enough to go for the full item. They're going to have to stick around with this much money. Now it's also worth noting that these 2 ultimates are going to be down for the dragon. Whereas Akali's is back up. So we have all 5 ultimates available for GenG. A slight item discrepancy. They're down a Blasting Wand in mid. And they've got an Umbral Glaive to fight against from the Kai'Sa. We've spoken about the different Kai'Sa builds. Umbral Glaive, Serrated Dark. This is an immediate Q spike. There is a way to cancel your animation, by the way, doing this. There are settings that can get in the way, but if you're Kai'Sa, if you press your recall in the middle of your evolution, you can get off. But honestly, I don't know what is the setting that stops me from doing it but allows my friend to do it. I know that it exists. If you guys have an answer, put a timestamp 1240 in the comments and let me know what that setting is that might be interfering with it. But Gumayusi doesn't use it. It's a small thing, but it is the only thing that allows you to evolve if you're in lane, right? So let's say you level up to level 11 and you get like the attack speed one was a fairly common one, where you had Berserker Greaves and Nashor's Tooth, for example, Static Shiv, and you just didn't quite have the full, oh, let's watch this happen. Okay, you didn't quite have the full stacks, but then you hit level 11, your attack speed goes up, you get the extra tick, and that's what gives you the evolution. You didn't necessarily want to evolve right there in lane phase. Because it might cause you to get killed, just like Crown versus Zed, or Crown versus Faker way back in season 3. One of the first things I put I put Faker on the map. He wasn't even playing that; he was playing Nidalee. I believe it was Crown that played Kha'Zix, evolved his Q in the middle of the lane. Nidalee saw him stuck in the animation and was like, "Oh, okay, you're gonna do that? Flash jump, boom, kill you in the middle of your evolve," and that was when he said, you know what, I'm just not good enough to play mid lane in Korea anymore. So it's you know, that sort of thing is something that you have to avoid. So obviously doing it in base is going to be better, but this strength is going to be there all game. We'll see if she goes for Duskblade. We've spoken kind of ad nauseum about Collector Rageblade being an option as well. Bottom lane staying against a top laner is always suicide. Well done here by Doran getting that last tick. And all of her resources are down now. That's ultimate, flash, and cleanse. Normally you want to get out of that situation as an AD carry. You never want to be in it. Obviously they didn't have vision of the Rumble. Thought that she had a moment. So props to GenG for getting that proactive rotation. But this is the prize you get. Having the first rotation to mid, you put Rumble in the bot lane. You get a solo kill versus enemy AD carry. That gets them off the map for 40 seconds. That is a fantastic prize. Not only that, but Rumble will be spiking on their items as well. Beautiful last hitting, as we always expect from Chovy. Can't remember the last time I've seen Chovy miss a last hit under turret, which means that he's definitely going to miss one like immediately. We're going to see it. That's just the way it is. It is a high pressure game. We don't fault him for it, but it's just so clean when they're able to do it even under pressure, even at this stakes against their most hated rivals. All right, 500 gold lead, fairly meaningless unless we can find a difference in completed items. We've got Night Harvester versus components. Now, these are two of the highest spike components in the or half items in the game, so that's going to be okay for Aatrox, but they're still never going to want to face off into a Rumble ultimate here. Love how Orianna is using very proactive ultimates here. Not looking to try to get the perfect one, but just saying, all right, let's get a damage lead. Who knows what's going to happen coming out of that? They end up securing the kill for themselves. Jarvan jumping in immediately to follow means that this Herald is theirs. Now, Kha'Zix's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Are they actually going to try for this? They know that Rumble's quite strong, and we're missing Kai'Sa and Orianna ultimates. So this would be GenG. All right. I like that they got away from this. It would be insane for them to want to do it. It would be confidence, and I guess it would be inspiring that they're confident in that. God, I can't speak. That they are that confident in themselves to take that play. But I don't like that they even showed for this. Like, what were you going to get? You're always going to be later there. You're missing a champion. You're missing your AD carry at that. Even with Rumble, that damage, look, it's nullified. They're recalling anyways. They just spent all of their tempo to destroy mid. They killed that turret. They came over, killed a Herald. They're all going to be recalling anyways. Baker dominating here, showing the strength of the Orianna. Beautiful dodges. Ludens, also love to see Ludens here. We've seen way too many defensive boot and Leandri's combinations that have just resulted in not enough damage from these champions. Especially from someone like Orianna, where we want to get all that damage up front to lead off the fight so you can get your Jarvan, Aatrox, Kai'Sa, for example, to be able to dive into the team and look for those kills. Now, Shadow Flame is something that we haven't seen second. Normally, we've seen Rabadons. It depends on game script, but there is a world where you consider selling the ring and getting another needlessly large rod, because you want the size of your shield to be massive, right? The shield is one of the buffed items or one of the buffed parts of Orianna. You want her to be able to give yourself these massive shields going into the fight, especially since Jarvan normally punches himself a one-way ticket. You want to give him that option of getting back out. I would have preferred to see that. I don't mind it in this world where you're pen, right? And you say, I'm the only magic source on my team, especially since we have an Umbral Glaive Kai'Sa going lethality. Since I'm the only AP threat, I can go maximum AP. I don't mind Shadow Flame, but I definitely want to see Rabadon's third. And then you're going to wonder whether or not she survives not having something like Zhonya's available for these assassins. So it's a kind of a tricky spot. Would have preferred to see Rabadon's into Zhonya's. Beautiful movements here. Unfortunately, Faker still gets touched by the Akali. Good choice by Keria, just saying, all right, let me just get this in GTFO. I'll zone this side, let my team get the rest of the way out. Now looking at the mid game, 18 minutes in, we're going to start seeing second item spikes. Duskblade, which we see probably the item of the tournament. This is the most OP item that they have. It completely negates some of the downsides of these champions that dive in and go for kills. So we're going to see it all day long. It's just that passive is too good in pro play, right? These champions are supposed to have downsides. Instead, you remove it, but you do need to get that first trigger. So high damage. We've got lethality here. I think they're going to be able to get those first kills for themselves, and they've certainly synergized, right? Going pen lethality. Everything's about that early kill. That being said, against potential split push and scaling threats here, they could have a problem in the end game. If we do get into a drawn out fight, we're going to talk about Xayah being super favored. Kraken Slayers can scale much harder than the Duskblade does. So if you're not able to get that first kill, dive in, clean up, reset, and go from there, then Or if you go and spend everything on that first kill and then you cannot consolidate your team fight and regain your position, we might be talking about a field day for the Kazakhs Rumble, even Akali and Xayah. So that is the thing that these guys have in common. Tremendous amounts of sustained damage coming through. Now it looks like it's going to be Morella Namicon from Rumble. I don't know how I feel about this. It's fine. We might even see actually just Oblivion Orb and then skip the Morella Namicon, turn it into Shadow Flame for themselves, breaking against shields, right? We've got multiple shields here that you may want to get that full pen version off of. Also, no one that's really looking to stack resistances. Love to see Radiant Virtue on Alistar. All right, we've seen a couple different items, but Radiant Virtue just being the tank item of choice for the tournament. Hello. I don't think we have milk. No, do we? Yeah, we are out of milk and out of eggs. All right, teleport being used in the bot lane. So this is the one big advantage that T1 has. The fact that they have access to 2 teleports versus the 1, and Baron is on the map. Now, T1 has been the most aggressive Baron takers over the history of this game. They look for mid-prio, and then they slide over and come into the pit from there. With Akali's teleport being used bottom, and the fact that Rumble has only Ignite, I expect them to try to find themselves a window here. Smooth play here by Chovy. Still lands the E in response. So beautifully done by Chovy. Buffering the E to land, even though you're getting shockwaved, so that you can come back and get the E2 on the backside of that. So wonderfully done. We see how strong Akali is against Orianna in those side lanes. That is the one weakness that Orianna has in this meta compared to champions like Ahri, other mages, even Victor, who are a little bit more comfortable in the side lanes. They can get away a little bit easier. Orianna does not really want to stay here. She just wants to clear this wave and get out. You don't want to spend any time against this Akali at all. So they've lost their window here. Akali had teleported bottom to fix that wave. There was potentially a chance. And this is what we're talking about. I don't like that Faker's this far out. Even if they're baiting a fight, having to start it off with your own flash. Zayu's Hex Drinker being popped right away. That actually looks like a moss-sized shield. Yep, that is Maw. So yeah, T1 actually getting pulled apart. They're the team with the teleports. They're supposed to be the ones pulling GenG apart, and it's happening the opposite way around. So I'll give props to GenG for having quick rotations. Being quick around the map is what's allowing them to do this. It is a tempo rift after all. But this is exactly how we don't want to see this game played. We don't want to see these thrown away willy-nilly. We want to see Orianna push a wave, rejoin her team. We want to see Aatrox in the side lane. He can survive. He's fine against Akali. And he's built for it, right? Because he's got this Maw against these 2 champions, so he's very happy taking these all-ins against them. Akali, of course, can try to just proc it and walk away and then try to come back. But again, you have double teleport. You want to be the ones that are pulling this team apart. Delight, Rakan being caught out a little bit, but this tanky build is able to re-engage the fight. Jarvan looking to try to get one of these kills. They need this first kill. Delight's still alive. There we go. We got it. But it's in the stasis. Rumble and Akali on the backside cleaning up the fight. They're able to do it. T1 has been throwing away their advantage. I'm going to be honest about it. All right. The fact that Akali teleported bottom. So if we go back 4 minutes and we just watch Akali teleport bot, that's the window where you then have to pull them apart. Say we've got pressure in all the lanes. Will look very nicely done by Delight. This tankier build on Rakan allows you to go for this all in. They get that huge chunk. Equalizer was actually not very well placed, but it was still enough. They're able to get those kills, and you see how they're able to split everyone up and just win on both sides. GenG's just gonna steamroll this game now. They've got the stronger damage on the carries. The composition's allowed to rip through these team fights. If you're T1 against this Baron, you're looking for one pick with Alistar or Jarvan as an engage, followed by an Orianna. Otherwise, this team just never really needs to present a target for you. If there is a weakness from GenG's side, it's going to be wave clear. They only have one ranged champion that matters for clearing waves. That said, it is Xayah, who alongside Sivir is the best wave clearing AD in the game. So she should be able to eviscerate these waves and allow them to get the prio set. GenG will kind of slide into the adjacent quadrants for the push. But GenG is going to be patient. They're going to let this just come back out, push multiple different lanes. Split push has not been a popular dynamic all year long. But this is the dynamic for it, right? When you just have superior laners, also Akali and Rumble, much better flanking threats than an Orianna. Orianna cannot survive in these side lanes. And again, we're burning teleport to answer a push. I don't like it. Now, GenG's goal, they've got 90 more seconds. They'd like to get all 3 of these inner turrets done, all right? That's an extra 3k standing gold on the map, plus they get prio into the jungle camps. They should be able to take all of those for themselves. And that's really the goal for this Baron here, is to balloon this lead to about 7k. If they can do that, then they'll be super, super confident. They don't want to give that all-in fight. If you're T1, I love this ward right here, these 2 wards. You put them super deep, not part of the relevant part of the map. You just want to see the rotations. You want to see how they're moving. Generally, you want it here, but I imagine this one was swept. And then you want to try to play for some like tunnel, some little quadrant of vision that you can protect and hopefully kill them on their rotations. Objective completed in bottom. Objective completed in mid. There's only 100 HP left on the top turret. Aatrox is not going to let the minions go. Of course, ever since the mid-season change, if you weren't aware, minions have been recoded. They no longer can be pulled off the turret. Once they start hitting turret, they will continue hitting turret. So you have to, if you want to save your turret, you need to make sure that you step ahead. Sometimes in the late side of the early game, it can be okay to let your turret die if it's denying local gold, but it's such a small amount of local gold compared to what the team's going to get and the map pressure, and you never want to do it with your inner. This is an important way to control waves and an important constant sight line that you have. So you should be absolutely willing to defend this spot. I expect T1 to try to take and keep control of the northern quadrant, but it's going to be very difficult with the lead that GenG has amassed for themselves. Not just that, but Kha'Zix, Rumble, Rakan, are you ever really willing to jump into the middle of this team? It's going to be kind of tough. Nice little poke out from here. Kai'Sa going for the W evolve next. This is still a very important part of this build for a couple reasons. It gives you access to attack speed, which you need now that you have all this lethality and attack damage. Attack speed is the best thing you can get for your own scaling. Plus, it gives you the 100 AP so that the W will be evolved. We might see something like Zhonya's later, but normally they go for an attack speed item that will then pair with everything. And this is where this build does fall short. It feels really awkward to build from here, like deciding what to do at this point where you're like, okay, I've already indexed into my Q evolve. I didn't get my big lead off of my spike on my Qs. Am I really ever going to find this Duskblade proc? Would Rageblade have been better? I think so. Rageblade and Collector should be the build here. There is a world where you could consider selling this and getting the other, but they're pretty far away from that. If you have 800 gold, basically 1/3 of the value of the item is what you're going to need. So actually in this case, like 1100. If you have 1,000 gold sitting around and you're wondering like what is the best thing that I can do for my build, scaling into the rest of the game, obviously getting a new item, building towards a new item is obviously great, but sometimes you should consider swapping out mythics, especially if you had a lethality or pen item early and you want to turn it into a better scaling item for later. Look at this Rakan charming everybody, keeping the entire fight peeled up. You see how they peel one side and then Kha'Zix goes in on the other. Beautifully fought by GenG. Akali is just going to be unstoppable for the rest of this fight. Baker ends up having to pull away, and your composition folds in the team fight scenario that you thought you were going to be good in. So GenG, just with a wonderful draft for themselves, has pulled this team apart, and then T1 just not able to make the quick macro plays in time to punish this teleport diff. Orianna will should try to die. Yeah, this is a mistake. Good job by Doran. This is zoning off. So you actually don't mind dying here. And this is something Doran's used to because he played weak side and tanks for so many years. But you are willing to actually be the one that steps up, zone Orianna off of the wave, And by doing that, you deny her the ability of clearing the wave, right? If you kill these minions, then maybe you're able to stall the game until the Baron respawn. By stepping up and making it very clear to Faker that you will die if you stay here, you're chasing him back. The correct play for Faker is to int and clear the wave, right? Buying 30 seconds, giving your team a chance to respawn is your only way in. But in this case, the next wave is already reinforcing. They're coming in. Orianna will never be able to get this, especially not without her ultimate. So beautiful game by GenG. Well played, guys.